What's going on, guys? Bet Records back with some MMA, UFC fight news. We'll talk about some Twitter drama, and we're going to do a really really early preview of the upcoming 280 card that's coming up, I believe, next weekend, Justin?
Yep, next Saturday, live from Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi got a good one coming up here. But you mentioned something behind the camera about some Khabib Twitter drama. I feel like these UFC fighters are always on some drama on Twitter, just trying to stir the pot. What do we got going on with this guy now?
Yeah, so one thing I love is MMA Twitter. It's just a fun thing. So think about politics in Twitter. You have politicians talking back and forth to each other, this and that. With MMA fighters, it's way more entertaining. You know, you got those characters on Twitter like Costa, Dylan Dennis, Jake Paul, even though Jake Paul isn't in MMA, he's a boxer. And Dylan
McGregor.
Yeah, McGregor actually was talking a little smack last week to Michael Bisping.
Okay.
Very entertaining. That's why we have our own Bet Records MMA Twitter. So be sure to hit that a follow. And yeah.
Yeah, so so what's going on with the Khabib thing? Was he talking to someone directly? Was he just talking to his ass or what?
So basically, about a month ago, so Khabib's cousin Islam is fighting Charles Olivera in the main event of 280.
Oh, gotcha. Yep.
That Dagestani wrestling, that Dagestani mindset, and this is a great matchup. I think it's going to be like the greatest fight of the year, if you ask me. So Khabib, for a little background for anybody who's not an MMA fan, Khabib Nurmagomedov was the longest reigning champion in UFC lightweight history. And he went out, retired. His father passed away from COVID, very sad. Went out on a win in Abu Dhabi about 2 years ago against Justin Gaethje. And so basically, he was passing the torch. He said, okay, I want to be a coach now. And his cousin Islam is up on the rise. And he has made his way to his title shot against Charles Olivera. And Khabib, he tweeted something out. And I was reading it. And I was like, there's no way Khabib would tweet this. So in quotes, I just think Charles Olivera will not show up in Abu Dhabi. And the UFC will replace Charles with Beneil Dariush. Regardless of who the opponent will be, Islam Makhachev is on his way to becoming the best in the world. That's just dumb.
Is it legit? Is it a legit tweet, or is it really just to kind of get more views into this in the upcoming card?
I don't know. When the second I saw that tweet, I went into the comments and I already know what people were saying. And somebody posted a meme of Daniel Cormier doing this. And in the caption, it was, "We know it's you, Ali." So a little background, Khabib and Islam's manager, Ali Abdelaziz, in the past has been known to take over his fighters' Twitter's accounts and type in trash talk through their accounts, not actually being them.
Interesting.
So the whole MMA community just agreed that definitely wasn't Khabib who tweeted that. It was Ali. If it was actually Khabib who said that, who actually tweeted that, shame on you. You've been in the fight game for years and you retired, and now you're just saying that someone's scared to show up and fight your cousin. Do you want to fight? Do you want your cousin to be pushed to the limit and challenged, and you're just saying that he's not going to show up? I just read that tweet. I'm like, there's no way Khabib tweeted that. Knowing Khabib, I'm a fan of Khabib. I am. But for him to tweet something like that at that point, it's just there's no way that he tweeted that.
Right. And Charles is already there, right?
It was that rat Ali.
Yeah, it's gotta be. And maybe, they're kind of acting like a social media manager to a point, right? But I don't know, then do it on your own page or something instead of posing as someone else. I don't know, right? It's not our game. We're not
Ali Abdelaziz has been doing that for years.
Weird.
Especially with Khabib.
Well,
you can tell it's not Khabib writing it, because Khabib would say certain phrases, and when someone, let's say one of our buddies, let's say you received a text message from me
Yep.
It's like me calling you a piece of shit and this and that. And then you were just like, you're just like reading the wording and you're like, this is definitely not something that
Right. Like the grammar and shit. No, yep. I get what you're saying. Yeah. Because people use
grammar
different
translates
versions.
what you're texting. So
Right.
knowing Khabib, he did not tweet that. Here's that rat Ali.
What the heck? Well, we'll have to get into that fight. I know that's the main card and the main event of this whole 280 big event in Abu Dhabi coming up here. I know there's a couple prelims we're interested in. The big one, though, we'll touch on is Sean Brady and Belal Muhammad. Both welterweights. Looks like what's Bilal looks like he's number 5 and Brady's number 8, both from the US. Brady's got minus 135 for the scoring there as well, and the initial thoughts. What are your thoughts on this this prelim match?
Yeah, so Belal Muhammad's coming off a pretty dominant win over Vicente Luque in their rematch. Sean Brady's coming off an even more impressive win against Michael Chiesa. You know, the whole thing. I'm pretty sure Sean Brady's still undefeated. He's kind of been crawling his way up the ladder in the welterweight rankings. And this is kind of, I believe that this is a good fight for Belal, you know, because at the Usman Edwards fight in August, he was even wearing a shirt that said, "I'm next for the title," which I personally don't think he's earned the title shot yet.
Not yet. Yeah.
So what better way to earn a title shot than stopping a prospect, a guy who everyone's saying is going to come up and he's going to take the belt in the next year or two. Stylistically, I think this is a perfect matchup for both of them. You know, Bilal's gotten some controversy for kind of his play it safe kind of thing, his boring fighting. I don't find him as a boring fighter. I just see him more of just like a grappling heavy fighter. But at the same time, his grappling, he's not like Khabib or Usman or any of these guys just smashing people, leaving them with their nose plastered on the other side of their faces. He's just kind of like a control guy. And the reason I believe Brady matches up well with him is that Brady fought against a wrestler in his last fight, an elite wrestler in Michael Chiesa, and he handled him no problem. He cruised his way to a decision win. I do believe that so Belal Muhammad's been calling for ever since he beat Luque. His immediate call out was Colby Covington. Let me get that big mouth Karen, you know. And obviously he didn't get that. Colby's in his legal issues right now because of the Masvidal thing.
Right. Yep.
And he wanted a fight with Chimaev, but Khamzat looks like he's moving up to 185, arguably because he tweeted like 2 weeks ago saying 185 emoji, like fire, this and that, let's go. And then 2 days later tweets out Colby Covington, you're next. So it's kind of like, well, which is it?
Yeah.
So we don't know because obviously, for those of you who don't know, Khamzat missed weight by like 7.5 pounds, 8 pounds. And at that point, Khamzat's a big welterweight. He really is. It was the same problem with his buddy Darren Till. He couldn't make weight, so he ended up moving up to 185. So I do believe Khamzat should move up to 185. But if he chooses to stay at welterweight, yeah, more power to you, man. I know Gilbert Burns is kind of in talks with Masvidal, so that kind of leaves Belal in a sticky situation. So I respect the fact, okay, I'm going to step back, take a guy who's ranked under me, and right. Sean Brady, a guy who everyone thinks is going to take the belt. So let's go, Sean Brady.
Yeah, we're going to take Sean. Yeah, just was looking at the records too. Yeah, Brady is 15-0, so definitely on a hot streak. And yeah, we'll see if Belal truly shuts him down. Looks like Belal is 21-3 for his total record as well. So definitely, a lot of guys that have been seeing a lot of wins under their belts. Hopefully it is a good match and a good one to kind of round off those prelims this upcoming weekend on the 22nd here.
It's a good featured prelim. I think it is because it actually does have big implications in the welterweight division. If Belal wins, he's in that title picture. Obviously, Usman and Leon have to do their trilogy. They'll get that figured out.
Right.
And from there, like if Belal can pull out this win, then he has a good shot at getting the next title shot, But if Brady wins, now that's going to put him in the top 5. And I don't believe that'll get him a title shot. I think that'll give him a Gilbert Burns, a Colby Covington, maybe even a Khamzat if he does choose to stay at 170.
Right.
But yeah, this matchup does have good title implications.
Yeah, this is almost, almost a play-in. I don't want to play into the championship, right? But a play-in to have a one more play-in to get to the championship, maybe, and lack for a better term. But yeah, whichever of these two guys wins, they probably got one more fight under their belt, and they're a real contender for the the top dog at that point.
Correct.
Next coming up here on the main card, we'll start off with the women's flyweight bout. We got Katlyn. I'm going to butcher all these names, just pre-warning. Katlyn Chookagian versus
Chookagian.
There you go, Manon Fiorot. Looks like Manon is a 9-1 record. Katlyn 18-4. What do we got for odds here is what I'm trying to find. Can't find them right now. Initially, I'm going to refresh. But what are your initial thoughts on this first bet, or this first match here?
Yeah, Katlyn Chookagian, ever since she fought for the title against Valentina back in February of 2019 or 2020, she's been kind of trying to make her way back up to a title shot. But obviously, she's had a couple bumps in the road. She obviously lost to Jessica Andrade and all other fights that she's had. She's had some very good performances. Sometimes they would go to decision. And, women's MMA has been kind of a little lackluster lately because there's not really been many like big finishes or anything like that. Right. So, kind of like starting to, like people are starting to get uninterested because of these bouts.
Right. And I feel like we've lost a lot of big named women's fighters, as well. Because we had Rose. Is she still, she's still fighting at all?
Yeah, she is. She's taking a little break. She kind of had an embarrassing title defense,
right?
She ended up losing to Carla Esparza.
Right.
And I know Fiorot is coming off a win over Jennifer Maia, a former title challenger to Valentina Shevchenko. So I believe that this will be a good fight. Fiorot's ranked number 7, and Chookagian is in the top 5.
Yeah, she's number 1. Appears on the card here on UFC.com, ranked number 1. Plus 160 for Katlyn are the odds, and minus 190 for Manon in this matchup here.
She is ranked number 1. She is on a 4-fight winning streak. Ooh, she got some impressive victories. Her last loss was to Jessica Andrade. Ever since then, she's beaten Cynthia Cavallo, Arajo, Jennifer Maia, and Amanda Ribas. So if she can win this fight and put it in a really dominant fashion, right, I believe she gets a rematch of Valentina Shevchenko.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think, I think Katlyn is who you got to take if you're really betting for one or the other, right? I think Katlyn's the one you got to take. I don't think I hate to say someone doesn't have a chance, right? We've seen that plenty of times in UFC, especially within the last couple of cards as well. A lot of main fights kind of taking those upsets of what we all thought. But I think Katlyn's got to take this one.
I believe that too. I just believe the experience is going to play a factor. Her distance, her striking, and when she does her occasional grappling, I do believe that she can pull it out. Now with Fiorot, she did show great grappling defense against Jennifer Maia. I believe she took her down a couple times, and to do that against Jennifer Maia is really good. So I believe this is going to be a really close fight. I believe it goes to decision. I think it'll be a split decision, but I do believe that Chookagian pulls it out in the end.
All right. Moving on to the next one here. Of course, they don't make these names any easier for me. Beneil Dariush versus Mateusz Gamrot.
Gamrot.
Yeah.
So Beneil Dariush, he hasn't fought in a year and a half. He was scheduled to fight Islam on February 26th of this past year, but got hurt. And that was going to be a title eliminator. And, Beneil is still considered one of those top guys. If he can win this, he'll get a title shot. I do believe he's going to win. I believe his experience in grappling and jiu-jitsu will be too much for Gamrot.
Okay, yeah, and it looks like Beneil is ranked number 6 and Gamrot number 9. Odds for Beneil plus 160, minus 190 for Gamrot as well, kind of similar to the last one. Do you think that distance from not, being under, or I should say that delay from not being under the hot lights for Beneil will be a true factor? I mean, I know these guys, have so much training even before they hop into UFC, right? Most of them have that kickboxing or jujitsu or something background coming into the, fight club. Do you think that time away from the scene is going to be a factor in this one, or does he still really have it?
So, Dominic Cruz always used to say ring rust doesn't exist. As long as you're still training, you're still in the gym, hitting the pads, this and that, which I agree to an extent. You got some people who come off a 4-year layoff and get a big win, and then you have other people like Nick Diaz taking a 6-year layoff and then losing to Robbie Lawler in a very embarrassing TKO where he didn't even want to stand up. It really depends on who is that fighter. If they have that instinct, if they're still grinding every single day, still care about the game, they still want to be champion. And even a year and a half isn't a horribly long layoff.
Okay.
You had guys like Nate Diaz taking 3 years off, Dominic Cruz out for 3 years and then 4 years on 2 separate occasions, coming in looking good. So it really depends on the fighter, but I do believe Beneil will not get that ring rust factor, and I think he will pull out the victory against Gamrot, and then he will be arguably next for a title shot.
All right. Like that one there. Next fight up, we got the bantamweight bout that everyone's been waiting for. Petr Yan versus Seano'malley, the number 1 and number 12. Okay, so that's a little bit of a distance there in rankings. Minus 305 though for Petr Yan and plus 255 for Sean. Why is this fight even happening? Give us some background here, because me as an amateur, UFC watcher, that 1 to 12 kind of matchup doesn't really make sense to me. What's going on here?
So basically, when Seano'malley came into the UFC, he was already a popular guy. He didn't have a number next to his name, but at the same time, people were still taking him seriously. He got a lot of knockout victories, one against Eddie Wineland. Then he had one against not Rafael Sunsao. I'm blanking on his name. I'll come back to that. Yep. But he has a lot of hype around him. He has a fan base.
Yeah.
And he basically talked his way into getting into the rankings. I shouldn't say he just talked his way. He fought his way in there. Obviously, the last fight against Pedro Munoz, he was winning the fight, and then it got turned into a no contest because Seano'malley controversially poked him in the eye, and Pedro couldn't continue.
Right.
Because
Sean only has one. He's 15-1. And Peter is 16-3. So both, have a lot of wins under their belts. Do you think truly it's just due to the popularity of Sean, and that's why he's, getting this fight against the number 1 ranked guy in his weight class?
I believe so, but at the same time, I know it's a fight that Petr Yan wants.
Okay.
Because he wants to shut him up, this and that. And if you ask me, Seano'malley should be in the top 10. Like, listen, I'm a hater. Seano'malley, I have been in the past. I just haven't really liked his personality, but I cannot deny the kid is good.
Yeah.
He's got skills. He even showed in the Pedro fight, unranked. They kind of jumped him up there, and he delivered, even though it ended in no contest, controversially.
Right.
If that poke didn't happen, Seano'malley would have knocked his ass out.
Right.
So if you ask me, this is a low reward, high risk bout for Petr Yan, being number 1 and you're taking on a number 12. If you lose everything. If you win, it's kind of just like, okay, like the guy was number 12. So what?
Right. But if he's number 1, he's probably getting knocked down to, what would you guess, 4, 5? Am I maybe exaggerating?
No, you're not. Probably.
Yeah, I would say he moves down to, about the middle of where they're at right now. I hate to say it, but that's just a fact. And I'm kind of just looking at their stats here. Sean's got a 5'11" height versus Peter's got 5'7". Reach, Sean has a 5-inch advantage. Just little numbers, right? But I feel like these little numbers can definitely make a huge factor in this matchup. Do you think those, Sean being a little bit more of a bigger human being will be a factor? And who do you think is really going to take this fight at the end of the day here?
It absolutely will be a factor. At the end of the day, Seano'Malley, like his body frame and his weight, I just question how is he able to make 135 with this? He's the same height as me. Imagine me 80 pounds lighter. Could you picture that?
Right.
I'm gonna side with it. I think Seano'Malley is gonna win.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's give it to Sugar. Let's do it.
The hype is real. I just believe Petr Yan is a perfect matchup for him. Striker versus striker. I don't think anybody's gonna shoot a takedown in the fight. But
this is gonna be another good one.
This is the people's main event right here, because even though those odds are in Petr Yan's favor, I believe that they should be even. It should be a coin flip right there. Because Petr Yan can easily have that dragon energy come out of him, that violent side of him, which worked against him in his favor in the rematch against Aljamain Sterling. People said like he went in there with a grudge and that's why he lost, because he wasn't focused.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm excited for this one. I'm predicting Seano'Malley is going to win this, and then he'll get a title shot after this, the winner of Sterling and Dillashaw.
Yeah, let's give it to Sean. I truly do think, kind of going back to how popular he is just in, the social media world, he's kind of blown up on YouTube with help with the Milk Boys and some of that.
But that doesn't have a factor in his fighting.
Definitely not with the fighting, but I think he does deserve the spot to move up from spot 12. I'm kind of shocked. I've never looked at the rankings personally, of course. I'm kind of shocked that he is 12. I would have, guessed a 10, 8 maybe, but I think this will definitely, boost him in the true rankings and be able to continue his career if he does pull this one through like we expect.
I mean, the bantamweight division is very stacked right now. Anybody in the top 10 is a threat to come for the title. So
right.
Whatever the number is next to your name, no shame. If you're in those rankings in bantamweight, you're a star.
Yeah, because and speaking of bantamweight, we got the title event in the same fight. So whoever wins this between Pierre and Sugar Sean, I don't doubt. I would pick the over if there's some betting thing out there. I'd bet the over that they're going to make some comments about this this fight coming up next here, because we got Aljamain Sterling and TJ Dillashaw. What do we got? Aljamain Sterling minus 170 odds. Plus 145 for TJ. TJ is ranked number 2, right behind Petr Yan. What are our thoughts about this fight?
Man, this one could actually, same thing with the Sean TJ or the Sean and Petr thing. I think this one can go either way too. TJ Dillashaw, he last fought a year ago against Corey Sandhagen after a 2-year suspension for EPO use and steroids, and ever since then he's just become a villain. Mm-hmm. Nobody likes him anymore from the steroids. But he's clean now, drug tested, this and that. Definitely at the press conference, Sterling's going to be attacking him on that on a personal level. Like that's just,
I'm sure. Yep, I'm sure.
But I do believe Aljamain is kind of underestimating TJ, which is typical Aljamain fashion. He likes to underestimate his opponents. Doesn't really acknowledge their skills. He's just basically, I'm better, this and that. He did impress me in the rematch against Petr Yan after he flopped his way to the title. And he showed, okay, I am better than this guy. He just wrestled him and held him there and ended up getting the victory in a split decision. I do believe that TJ Dillashaw's wrestling is a lot better than Petr Yan's. So I do believe this is going to be a better fight. If it's on the feet, I give it to TJ all day. He has more knockouts than Sterling. And then on the ground, I would probably give a little edge to Sterling. He has obviously a lot of submissions on his record. But Dillashaw is no can when it comes to wrestling.
Yeah, and that's, the big factor. If you're not going to stand up and it goes to the ground, whoever's got that edge and that, grappling wrestling background should be able to take this one away. My biggest thing always, which with even boxing and, again, it's just me as a stat guy, a sports stat guy, is the reach. Looks like Sterling has more than a 4-inch reach. Otherwise, everything else is about the same 1-inch difference in height. We got 21-3 and 18-4. TJ's got the 18-4, both coming off a win, of course, like you mentioned. I'm going to take Sterling just off the numbers, and hate to say, I'm going to, ride with the champ, but Who do you think? How do you think this one's truly going to end? By knockout, decision? What do you think?
TJ Dillashaw is going to get his belt back.
All right.
He's going to win by knockout.
All right. Look for that TJ knockout. There's a lot of great fights in this card, as we keep mentioning.
He's on right now. Everybody has been writing him off, calling him a cheater, this and that, which he admitted he was guilty of it. But if it's one thing, so steroids, all that, what I can't stand is when people lie about it. Like Barry Bonds, like Lance Armstrong. As soon as TJ got caught, he just made a video and said, listen, I fucked up. I'll sit on the sidelines, I'll serve my time, and I'll be back better than ever.
Right, without it.
And like at first when I saw he tested positive, I hated him for it. But then I heard his video like apologizing, this and that. And I was like, okay, respect. You didn't lie about it. You were caught. You served your time and that. So I believe he is on a mission right now. He can do. I'm pulling for TJ all day. He's going to knock Sterling's head into the bleachers.
Yeah, we like those kind of momentum stories, and that would be cool if he does get that victory in TJ there. The main event, we got a couple minutes left here of the video. If you're still tuning in, make sure you leave a like down below. Let us know who you think is going to come out on top of the main event of the evening next week. We got the number 1 Charles Olivera versus Islam Makhachev. Butchered it. Yep. Looks like Charles has got plus 150, minus 175 for Islam here. Lightweight title bout. What are our thoughts here?
Yep. So we got Dagestani wrestler against jiu-jitsu black belt. So I do believe that within the first 10 seconds, Islam's going to shoot a takedown on Charles. Charles have shown so he got stripped of the title back in May because he missed weight for his defense against Gaethje, which is an automatic strip. He only missed by half a pound, but he signed on the contract saying you make this weight, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
And he still fought, submitted Justin Gaethje. Charles Olivera has kind of had a little rebound in his career. 11 straight wins, and in his title defenses, so ragdoll Tony Ferguson, almost broke his arm, fought for the title against Chandler, got dropped, almost finished by knockout, ended up coming back and knocking out Chandler. Against Dustin Poirier, also got knocked down and then ended up submitting Dustin Poirier. Justin Gaethje, he got knocked down 3 times in the first round and ended up winning by submission after knocking Gaethje down. So my biggest concern for Oliveira is if he does get knocked down by Islam's not going to be afraid to jump in, because Gaethje and Poirier, whenever they knocked him down, were hesitant to go into the guard and, finish him.
Sure.
Islam's not going to be scared to do that. If he knocks him down, he's going to go right in because he's confident that he can do it. So it really just matters about the durability of Charles. When it comes to grappling, this is where this fight is going to be great. We want to see this Dagestani Khabib prodigy against an actual Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt who could submit you on your back. He could submit you from the bottom, submit you from the top. You don't want to miss this one. This card, this entire 280 card, might be the most stacked title fights that I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's probably the best one of the year. Probably, I'd say it's definitely up there, the card of the year, and we only got a couple months left of the year here. And I'm just kind of looking, at the stats, of course. Looks like Oliveira has just more experience, 33-8. Yeah, he's got more losses than Islam, who's only 2-1, but that's what, 15 almost more fights than Islam has been in.
Yeah, Charles has the most submission wins in UFC history.
All right. And reach again, a 4-inch advantage for Charles. Leg of reach, that's about the same. Height's about the same. Both coming off a win on their last fight there. I, personally just looking at the stats, and I see the number 1 and number 4, and I'm just a little bit more familiar with Oliveira as an amateur UFC watcher. I'm going to take Charles in this one just because I do know he does a lot of submissions. That's going to be my guess, but I don't doubt Islam is a he's a tough dude.
Yeah, totally. So in Charles's last 3 fights, I picked against him. I've doubted him. I'm done doubting the guy, especially when everyone's doubting him now. He's gonna beat Islam Makhachev, I believe.
How do you think it's going to be done? Submission? Another one for the books?
I believe he's going to put him to sleep. He's going to get him in a choke, and Islam's going to refuse to tap, and then he's going to go night-night.
All right. Well,
I just believe that Islam is underestimating him so much. He's called him an easy fight. This is going to be so easy when the guy hasn't even fought anybody in the top 5. He beat Bobby Green to get his title shot, an unranked guy. And, Khabib on Twitter basically tweeted at Dana White, basically saying, give him title shot now, Dana. And Dana finally just had enough. And he's like, whatever.
Just did it. Yeah, whatever. He's ranked 4 and he's up against the number 1. Will be a great fight nonetheless. And we're excited to kind of see what happens here. We might do a deeper dive of this next week. If not, again, let us know who you think is going to win this championship fight and matchup for 280 in Abu Dhabi in the comments below. Let us know your thoughts. Thanks, Justin, for taking the reins of this one. We love these UFC ones and hope you guys do as well. Thanks again for tuning in as always. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.
Peace.